When you keep a definite purpose in mind long enough, it becomes an obsession. Positive mental attitude seldom leads to physical work, but only mental gymnastics. Obsess to progress. PMA cannot exist alone in your brain. It will always attract negative emotions. Whatever becomes your obsession will become your possession. OMA is not a hope, it is not a dream, but a keen, pulsating, dominating desire. Terrorists and patriots are both obsessed, or they could not do what they do. You don't blow up children because you have a positive mental attitude. And you don't kill another man because you have a positive mental attitude. You kill a man because you're obsessed with serving your country or your God. If you touch a truth, then you can use that to draw false conclusions for foolish and lazy people. Napoleon Hill came close to saying it right one time in his book. He says everyone wishes for money, but only desire with a state of mind that becomes an obsession will bring riches. How can he say that and then teach positive mental attitude? Napoleon Hill said, "You'll never have money unless you work yourself into a white-hot heat of desire." A white-hot heat of desire. That doesn't sound like a positive mental attitude to me. That sounds like working under an obsession. Napoleon Hill said, "There is nothing right or wrong which an obsession will not cause to become a reality." How can he say that when he teaches positive mental attitude? Obsessive mental attitude, even the pronunciation of the word is magical, for it is the same word used for the meditating power of concentration in the Orient. Obsessive mental attitude. Napoleon Hill said, "No ordinary desire can withstand the discouragement, disappointment, temporary defeat, criticism, and constant reminding of it being a waste of time. Only an obsession can." How can he say that and teach positive mental attitude? Napoleon Hill said, "Men who accumulate great wealth are always ruthless, cold-blooded, obsessed. The only people who can take defeat as an encouragement to further effort is a person who is obsessed." How can he say that and write a book on Think and Grow Rich? You can't think and grow rich anymore. You can think and grow tomatoes. Obsessions and goal setting. Obsessions give you a definite, major life goal. Napoleon Hill, "After 20 years, I have found no quality in Edison or Henry Ford, but persistence that made them successful." Friends, persistence for 20 years is an obsession. Something you do for 20 years is not PMA. It's an obsession. Napoleon Hill said, "You can learn to use PMA in your life by following his 13 steps of Think and Grow Rich." And it is important to remember that a few of these 13 steps are, and this is really important, I want you to get this. Number one, you have to talk to people in your dreams, dead people, who will magically lead you to success with your business through legal and moral and positive mental advice. Talk to dead people. Number two, develop the power of extrasensory perception. Read the thoughts of others and send messages through the air. That's one of the tenets of Think and Grow Rich. Number three, not only do you have to talk to dead people, develop ESP, you have to get a sixth sense where, according to Hill, you will be warned of danger and notified of opportunities, just like the people at a horse race or witches. Number four, this is on page 215, develop the habit of voluntary rebirth of the brain, thus overcoming the handicap of birth due to the environment of ignorance and superstition. These skills are essential in developing positive mental attitude. And perhaps that's why so many people don't get the positive mental attitude after reading his book. They're just not good at talking to ghosts and getting telepathic powers and having visions. Remember, these are important parts of his book. To make sure you get the importance of these parts of his book, he wrote another book with Clement Stone called Success Through a Positive Mental Attitude, where Hill develops an entire chapter on how to learn to get extrasensory perception. And he suggests to use the guidance and leadership of Dr. Ryan when exploring the dangerous and unexplored world of psychic phenomenon. Now here's my point. Hill, Stone, Schuller, Peel, and all the others seem to have a secret for developing positive mental attitude that requires a metaphysical experience or an extraordinary leap of faith. The Christian writers believe it's the absolute faith in God and that God wants you to be successful. And that's the precursor that will help you develop a positive mental attitude. The others say it's metaphysics, and you have to have some strange belief or requirement of some outside power, like the Force in Star Trek or Star Wars, is guiding you. You know, since most people are not good at ESP, and since most people are not great Christians, I guess they fail to get the great benefits of the Christianity like J.D. Jakes teaches. He's the one driving the Rolls Royce and his people are walking to the church. I believe these great men are right, though. But there's a strange power with PMA. It's the power to attract negative. And they're also right that these great men and women have never used PMA to succeed. But they're wrong when they forget to mention all great men and women have obsessions. That's what causes them to be successful. That all the great people who are obsessed with their vision to achieve their purpose, these are the people that succeeded. That OMA is not something you have to talk to ghosts to get, or send thoughts through the air, or be telepathic with. You don't have to believe in luck or magic. You don't have to defy the laws of physics. You already have all the OMA inside your brain you will ever need to be successful. Isn't that a wonderful thing? Here's another thing that PMA always tends to want to mention. Positive mental attitude attracts good luck. Well, tell that to the gamblers who are constantly using PMA. Every time they sit down, boy, they think they're going to win. Oh, they're going to win the lottery this time. They're going to get the right hand this time. They're going to win. They're going to win. They're going to win. The harder I work, the luckier I get. That makes a little more sense. Not the luckier I work, the luckier I get, the less I work. Let's see. Napoleon Hill lists 17 success principles that you have to use to be successful. No two ways about it. You have to use all 17. And if you're not successful because you're not following the 17 principles in the right combination. So let's use this principle according to the laws of mathematics. 17 times 17 times 17 times 17. Those are the possible combinations of following 17 principles in the right order, which comes to a number of approximately 17 times 17 billion. Pretty hard to follow that. Hill thinks that the problems of the world bow before you if you use positive mental attitude. How true, how true. All the crime, disease, and hunger are now gone because I just said, every day in every way, I'm getting better and better. Now the Iranians are not going to develop the nuclear bomb. Napoleon Hill tells you that you have absolute control over your attitude. And just to make sure you understand you have absolute control over your attitude, he suggests you read 4 books that teach you how to use this absolute control. I did read all 4, and yet I only had temporary control over my attitude. And only for a few minutes. I guess I need to read another 40 or 50 books. Napoleon Hill and Clement Stone say, the problem with accurate thinking is that when you see all-embracing words like all, always, and never, you create a false premise and clutter the mind with incorrect thoughts. But just 30 pages before, he says, the only known method of producing success is positive mental attitude. They contradict themselves continually. Remember, I told you that before when I talked about C.S. Lewis saying, don't argue with them. They're going to contradict themselves every time they get a chance. they're never going to listen to logic. They're never going to understand why they keep making the same mistakes over and over and over. Here's a great one from Napoleon Hill books and most positive mental attitude books. If your thoughts are of poverty, you will be poor. And that explains why 2/3 of the people alive in the world today are poor. It's not because there's no jobs or no opportunity. It's poor because they were thinking poor thoughts. It has nothing to do with the fact that they're standing in line for 3 days to get a piece of bread. They're living in a country with a dictator, no food, no liberty, no justice, no opportunity. It's because they didn't think positive thoughts. They were thinking negative thoughts. They were thinking, gosh, I'm hungry, instead of, gosh, I'm going to be a billionaire. These poor people, if they only knew, if they had a positive mental attitude, the dictator wouldn't kill innocent people. Napoleon Hill says, the problem with accurate thinking is that when you are... So think about that. What you're telling people is that if you're poor, it's because you're not thinking positive thoughts. It's not because you live in Africa where there's not a job or anything around for thousands of miles. It's because you didn't think positive thoughts. That's insane. And yet that's their tenet. You know, I think you really need to understand that these people are just trying to use feel-good thoughts and feel-good philosophy instead of telling these people the reason that you're poor is that you live in a country that there's no opportunity to be rich in because you're run by dictators who kill people and there's no business opportunity. If you were to practice capitalism instead of communism, or if you happen to be born in the right country, and then you had an obsession to do something about it, then something would positive happen. Don't tell people that they're poor in Africa because they're not thinking positive. They're poor because they live in Africa. If they lived in America, they wouldn't even have to work. They could get free house, free health care, free schooling, free everything. This is a great country. You should be proud to live here. There are 17 success principles listed by Napoleon Hill and W. Clement Stone, and they are: 1. Positive mental attitude. 2. Definiteness of purpose. 3. Going the extra mile. 4. Accurate thinking. 5. Self-discipline. 6. The mastermind. 7. Applied faith. 8. A pleasing personality. 9. Personal initiative. 10. Enthusiasm. 11. Controlled attention. 12. Teamwork. 13. Learning from defeat. 14. Creative vision. 15. Budgeting time and money. 16. Sound physical and mental health. And 17. Using cosmic habit force, the universal law. They say all these things can be proved or achieved by positive mental attitude if you learn to act. If you want to be enthusiastic, act enthusiastic. I buy that. If you want to have creative vision, act creative vision. If you want to budget your time and money, act like you're budgeting your time and money. You see what's happening here? They keep telling you things that are just feel-good stuff that make you feel good but don't make you do anything. If you want to go the extra mile, act like you're going the extra mile. Pretty soon we're going to win an Academy Award for acting, ain't we? You know, all those are great, but it just doesn't work for me and work for most people. I'm just not that good enough an actor. They say if you use positive mental attitude, you'll automatically follow through on your plan of action. Prove it. Prove it with the millions of people that read your book and didn't follow through. I've read their books and didn't act. Millions of people have read their books and didn't follow through. Didn't take the actions that they said. PMA never causes you to take direct action, to work the long hours necessary to achieve anything. Only obsessions cause you to take direct action. It's a great PMA fairy tale. Oscar and his oil finding machine. Oscar invented an oil finding machine. And after finding a few puddles of oil within, He was returning home when he stopped off in Oklahoma City, and the machine went crazy. Naturally, Oscar didn't believe the machine and broke it, only to find out later that Oklahoma City was floating on oil. This story, according to Napoleon Hill, shows the power of negative mental attitude. What it really shows is a fairy tale. For if there was a true Oscar, he would be a billionaire, regardless of whether or not he found oil in Oklahoma City or not. Because there are billions of more gallons of oil waiting to be found by a machine that he can use and invent again. If he invented the first machine, he could certainly do it again and find more oil all over the world. And that's the true point of the story. It's not that Oscar was negative and did not believe the machine, but Napoleon Hill are crazy and do believe that Oscar invented the machine that smelled oil, and after he missed it in Oklahoma City, Oscar never used the machine again. He did not say, man, that machine really works, but rather he said, heck, all that oil will never be found in the world again. I'm going to throw this machine away. Oscar is living proof that positive attracts wealth and negative repels it. Oscar invented a machine that found oil, and all they say at the start of the fairy tale is that he found a lot of oil, but his company went bankrupt. So Oscar became negative. Now let's look at that. If you could find oil, guaranteed like poor old Oscar, how could your company go bankrupt? I'd place a few calls to Shell and Mobil and Exxon, and they'd probably get me a job finding oil. Makes sense, doesn't it? Napoleon Hill said, to prove that positive mental attitude works, read a book, The Richest Man in Babylon. It gives you the real secret of positive mental attitude. And what's that secret? The magic, true secret of staying positive and acquiring great riches? Is it one of the 17 principles? No. It is in your daily chanting? No. Is it your ability to write great goals? No. Is it your acting ability? No. What is it? It's saving and investing 10% of your money. The richest man in Babylon. Remember all the stuff they told you? Throw that out. If you can't seem to do that, if you can't seem to get another job or to save 10% of your money, then it's definite proof that you didn't follow the positive mental attitude. Because if you would have, you'd be the richest man in Babylon. So let me make sure I understand. The real secret of growing rich is not to think and grow rich, but to work, save your money, invest, and grow rich. Why isn't the book called Work, Save Your Money, Invest, and Grow Rich? Why are all the positive mental attitude nonsense makers out there telling you that all you have to do is think and grow rich, when they really meant you had to work hard, save your money, and invest it? I think that's just another faux pas from the positive mental attitude guys.